Hi guys, welcome back to Obodo TV. It's your girl Bridget Ekpo. Thank you very much for stopping by today. And if it's your first time, please consider joining our family. It's the red button down there. If you click on the subscription button and you hit on the bell sign, you get notification whenever I post my videos. Thank you very much for stopping by today, and thanks for all the love and all the support. My last video was talking about emotional parents who emotionally neglect their children, and I started looking at the comments, and when I read all the comments. I read all the comments, and I felt like I needed to do a follow-up to that video. I didn't just want to leave things like that. I felt like there was more to be said about this issue that we're talking about: African parents who neglect their children emotionally. Those who abuse their children and things like that. So I wanted to do a follow-up video, and I've decided to tag this video "Forgiving Your African Parents" for a reason. Now, the issue of forgiveness is something that all of us are going to deal with at some point in our lives, whether we like it or not. And the funny thing about when you talk about forgiveness is that it's an individual thing. You can't just tell somebody you have to forgive, or mandate somebody or compel somebody or even advise somebody. It's something that is personal to them, and it's like a journey that they have to come to by themselves. We all listen to preaching about forgiveness. We listen to motivational speakers who talks about the power of forgiveness and healing and all that. But from my own personal experience on this issue of forgiveness, I feel like you need to be in that place where you feel like you are ready and you want to do the journey, you want to do the work, you want to make that move. And until then, whatever anybody says might just be a waste of time. However, I want to encourage us today. If you are one of those people who's experienced any kind of emotional abuse or neglect or even physical abuse from your parents, whether they are dead or alive, I will urge you to begin that process of coming to a place whereby you can forgive them. I know it's easier said than done, but I will explain. Now, for those of us who were brought up by African parents in Africa, in my own case in Nigeria, you will know that, when we talk about emotional building or, supporting your children emotionally, it's not something that African parents do. And I don't want us to just say, oh, our parents are bad, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. But I also want us to take a minute to reflect on their own circumstances. It's not about, condoning, emotional abuse or whatever it is that you've been through in the hands of your parents. If they've neglected you or they've emotionally or even physically abused you, it's not about condoning it. It's not about saying it's okay. But it's about having an understanding. It's about having an understanding of their own situation and, looking at it from a broader perspective whereby you can come to closure. Because the thing about wounds, whether physical wounds, emotional wounds, which goes very deep, is that until you come to that place of closure, you're going to continue to hurt. And unforgiveness is the biggest form of hurting that people will hurt in their life, because the pain is just something that it won't go away as long as you hold on to it. It's just something that will be raw in your heart or in your mind, that you will have to be, anytime you think about that experience, if you haven't come to that place of forgiveness, the pain will just be raw. It will be like something that's just recently happened. We are talking about things that happened when we were children, and most of us are adults now. We're in our 30s, 40s, some people are in their 50s, but when they remember, it will be like it just happened yesterday. African parents didn't experience love, sadly. Our parents did not experience love, and we know that what you don't have, you can't really give. Most of them were not shown love by their own parents. In fact, if we are complaining that our own upbringing was harsh or hard, and they were very strict, or they were, they did all sorts of things to us, then you can imagine what they too went through. And what I find is that when we're talking about abuse, it tends to pass on from one generation to the other until somebody makes, a conscious effort to break the circle, until you say, okay, this is it. This is the way my mom has treated me. This is the way my dad has treated me. But I'm not going to treat my children like this. I want to break this circle. I want to make things different from my own children. Like, in my own experience, I wouldn't say I experienced any kind of emotional abuse. My mom wasn't emotional in a way like she's hugging and kissing. I don't think my mom ever hugged me in my life. She never hugged me. It's just not something that parents did at that time. It's not something they did. Hugging or kissing is foreign to our culture, if we can be honest. It's now that people are actually learning of the impact that it has on emotional building and all that. So it was just not something that parents did at that time. Now, my mom didn't hug me. She didn't kiss me. But I knew she loved me. She never told me one day that she loved me. But how did she show her love? It was through her actions. It's just that parents at that time did not know how to express their emotions. Most of them, they've never even heard the word I love you before. Nobody had ever said I love you to them. Not their parents, not their husbands. Nobody has ever said I love you. So if your parents didn't hug you, or they didn't kiss you, or they didn't even say I love you, don't take it like they were bad parents. It was just the way things were back then. But I knew my mom loved me. How do I know? Because she wanted the best for me. I mean, a lot of young girls of my age at that time were getting pregnant, having boyfriends, and falling, carrying this unwanted pregnancy, or whatever you call it, teenage pregnancy. And I feel like the greatest fear that my mom had was me getting pregnant and not going to university. She was so afraid of it that oh my God. And when you're trying to protect children, sometimes they don't understand it. And she made a lot of sacrifices for me, ensured that my fees were paid, that we were provided for, even though she was a very good mother, but she wasn't that emotional person, just because women at that time did not show their emotions. They didn't know how to express themselves. So I kind of understood. So we started building a relationship, and before she died, oh my God, we were best of friends. As soon as I finished school, I got my first job, I made sure I was looking after her and everything. Our relationship was great before she died, and I loved that. We had an excellent relationship, bond that was so strong, and I thank God for that. And that's why I'm talking about the issue of forgiveness today, because sometimes most of us who grew up in Africa, we can say we're abused one way or the other, but it's just the culture, or it's just the way of life. I mean, it's like somebody will comment on this, the blog that I did yesterday about emotional neglect, that the parents, their way of showing that they love you, or that that they are looking after you, is to make sure that you have food. Once you have food, they are okay, because they didn't have those things. I mean, for most of those parents, showing a child affection was like a taboo. It's like you're spoiling the child. A lot of people will criticize you if they'll say, you're spoiled. Even today, you'll be surprised, you'll be amazed at the number of African parents who live even in the diaspora today, who feel like when you show a child love, you are spoiling them. I mean, parenting is something that causes a lot of strife and disagreement in marriages. That's one of the issues where parents, partners, or husband and wife, or boyfriend and girlfriend always disagree, because your own style of parenting might be different from the other person's own. Some African parents believe that if you love into your children, that you're spoiling them. You're spoiling them. You're going to spoil those children. You're going to spoil those children. There's a difference between being affectionate and spoiling. Is quite different. Unfortunately, some African parents or some Africans do not know the difference. Affection is something that doesn't come natural to a lot of us who come from African background. It's something that you learn. If you don't have it, you have to make an effort to learn. Being affectionate, hugging, kissing, saying I love you. Some men, they can't even tell their wives I love you. If you tell them I love you, they'll say me too, or they'll say same thing. They'll say me too, or they'll say same to you. Some men do not know how to express love. Some women as well, they don't know how to. It's not because It's just because of their experiences or the way they were raised, and it's something they've not made an effort to learn. So if being affectionate does not come to you naturally, that you are not expressive, someone like me, I am so affectionate. In fact, I'm affectionate to a fault. That's why you see when I do my videos, I always say I love you. Saying I love you comes to me very, very naturally. Hugging and kissing is a part of my daily life. Everybody that is in my life, I tell them I love them. And hugs and kisses. Even my friends would talk, we end our conversation with I love you. My children, it's mandatory. They cannot leave the house without a hug and a kiss. When they come back, and they are so used to it now that when they are coming into the house, wherever I am in the house, they will come and find me, give me a big hug and a kiss before they will now go and do whatever they are doing. Even the younger ones, before they will go and take off their uniform and all that. So it's something that you build into children. And what I found with my own children is that when they learn it at a very young age like that, it's something that they will be comfortable doing. But if you've never told your child I love you, you've never given a child a hug, you've never kissed a child, how are they going to grow up doing it? They won't do it. A lot of African men are like that. They don't know how to express emotions or to show their affection. It's not right. And it affects their relationship as well. Because it's not only your children that you should be affectionate towards, you should be affectionate towards your spouses as well. And if you're not somebody that can, show your love or say it or, prove it or, whatever, that we women will love it. If you don't tell us you love us, it's wahala. No matter how long you've been married, you want somebody to say, I love you. You want somebody to say, give you a hug, somebody to kiss you, And then the things you need to consider when we're talking about this issue of forgiveness is about, the culture, our culture. I think I've spoken briefly about it, where the cultural background, where our parents were raised in a different era, and the religious aspect of it. Some religion, some people grew up in very strict background, whereby, oh my God, you have to be so serious, and anything that is fun or anything that is fun is considered a sin. You cannot even smile, it's a sin. You have to always be serious and be reading the Bible, or you are reading the Quran. Everything about your life has to be so serious, So yeah, that also impacts on how parents were able to raise us at that time. So sometimes I don't want us to compare our parents to other people's parents or to white parents. Somebody made a comment about how, white people treat their children and all that, and how, the children are being looked after, even when they are adults, the parents look after them. That there's no basic. I think that is a very unfair comparison, because it is completely different. Our parents and the parents of Europeans or whatever country that you live in, their own experiences is completely different. They grew up in a culture whereby from generation to generation, even though you work or you don't work, you've got state pension coming into you. Our own parents don't have any pension, so we were raised to believe that once your parents look after you when you're a child, when you begin to work, you look after your parents. I like a comment that somebody put on that blog that they put their parents on the salary, their mom, they are paying them. That's really, really good. You can't be looking at white people and say, oh, after all, they give money to their children, so why should I be giving my parents money? No, there is no basis for comparison at all. Your parents don't have pension. They don't have free or they haven't paid into a system like the NHS here in the UK, whereby they will be receiving, treatment or social care. It's different. It's completely different. So I don't think we should be making that comparison, because it's really not, it's not the same. It's not the same at all. There's a Nigerian culture. I don't want to mention the name, but some of you will know. There's a culture in Nigeria whereby they are well known for cursing their children. And it's moms that usually do that. They will just wake up and start to rain curses on their children. Any small thing that this child does is curses upon curses they'll be cursing. And they are known for cursing their husbands as well. Or anybody just curses. Do you know the power of the tongue? Some of us that are Christians know the power that's in this tongue. And parents especially have this special power in their tongue for whatever they speak in the lives of their children. So you can imagine cursing your own child. They think it's upbringing. They think it's discipline, that you are trying to discipline the child. You are trying to tell them that what they are doing is not good. But that is the worst kind of parenting. Cursing, placing a curse on your own child, saying, oh, they will never amount to anything, something like that is bad. I think a lot of churches back home in Nigeria are speaking up against it now. A lot of people are beginning to say that it is wrong for you to be cursing your children. I mean, I have a friend in London who told me about her experience growing up. She's from this culture that I'm talking about. And she told me what her mom did to her. She said every day this woman was cursing her. I mean, she's so emotional about it. When she's talking about it, she's crying. You know, the mom will curse her and beat her every single day. She has never experienced love from her mom. She has never experienced any kind of support. It's like the mom hated her. I don't know if he hated her. I don't know. Most parents probably don't hate, but that is what they know. Maybe that's the way they were raised, and it's just passing on the circle. And that's why forgiveness is key to breaking the circle. If you don't want it to continue, you need to break that cycle. So I noticed that every time I see her, she's always shouting at her children. She'll be shouting at her children, shouting. She has girls, she has 2 daughters. Every time she'll be yelling at them, and her voice is really loud. I'll be like pulling her clothes. I don't want the children to know that, I'm telling her off. I'll be pulling her clothes. I say, take it easy, take it easy. She say, Bridget, go and sit down. You spoil children too much. All the time you're hugging your children. That thing will spoil them. And one day I called her, I said, you told me about your experience growing up. Don't you think that your experience is what you're passing on now? You're perpetuating exactly what your parents did to you, your mom did to you. That's exactly what you're doing to your children. And it was like a light bulb just opened. She was reflecting on that. She was like, really? I said, yes. I said, whenever I see you, you're always yelling at your children. You're always shouting at them. They don't feel close to you. They can't come to you because they don't even know how you're going to react whenever they talk to you, because you're always yelling. You can't talk to them. And the thing about children is that whatever you give them is what they will give you back. If you give them love, they will give you love back. If you communicate with them, they will communicate with you back. And if you are yelling and shouting at them and criticizing them all the time, they will be withdrawn and then they can't talk to you because they feel like, oh, you're only going to yell, you're only going to shout at them, so what's the point? I started talking to her, I say, you can't do this. You are just, passing on this message from your mom. It means like your mom still has control over your life. Even though you're an adult now, you don't even live in Nigeria anymore, you live in the UK, but it's like your mom is in your head. And it's exactly the way you were raised, you are raising your children. I say, you have to watch it. I say, go and pray about it. Ask God to help you to break this cycle of abuse so you don't keep yelling at your children. It is not right. And the children, these Obodo children are not like Nigerian children. No, they are different. They are different. There's a point that you yell and yell and yell and yell so that, even you regret it because the way things will turn out, Then before you know, they will go and report in school and tell the teachers this is what is happening at home. Social services will get involved, and then it becomes a case of abuse or no abuse. And some of you that are beating your children, you go beat them and beat them and beat them. Hey, I'm sorry for you. Later you people will say social services or social workers are wicked, they are evil. You know what you should do and what you shouldn't do. If you are that type that's always beating, you will use your child's head to hit the ground, you will put mark. By the time they invite you now, you start panicking, you start running around and looking for your social worker friends to get advice from. Don't do it. Do not do it. Yeah, so in conclusion, what I'm going to say is that find it in your heart. Because the relationship, blood relationship is really, really important, especially with your parents. Whether they are alive or dead, find a place in your heart to forgive them. And, if they are alive, you are fortunate if they are still alive. Find a way in your heart to deal with that pain, to forgive them and start the process of healing and building that relationship if you can. Even if you can't, that you're not going to be body or you're not going to be besties because too much water has passed under the bridge, but at least it's going to bring you peace. It will bring you closure, and then it will help you to break this cycle of abuse so you can have that freedom. Because what happens is that if you do not do it, by the time they pass away, when they die, then you begin to feel guilty. You now say, oh, I wish I had done it. Then you begin to feel guilty. You begin to say, if I knew, I could have just forgiven. Because believe it or not, no matter how badly they treated you, when they die, you will feel it. You will feel it. That's when you will know that what they say about blood being thicker than water is correct. You will feel it. So if they are still alive, find a way to forgive them. Start healing and getting closure and building whatever relationship that you can manage with that parent. Because emotional wounds can sabotage relationships. They can sabotage your relationship with your children. and it can sabotage your relationship with your partners as well, future partners. Even, I mean, the wounds that we experience as a child, it has a lot of effect on us. So healing, is the way forward. I know it's hard. I'm not saying you just wake up one day and say I've forgiven or I've forgotten, but it's a process. And sometimes you pray about it and you just put in prayer, God, I want to forgive. I don't know how to do it. Help me. Take this hurt away from my heart. This is what they've done to me. I'm holding on to it. Because there was something that Josmaya said. Josmaya said that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die from it. Oprah also talks a lot about unforgiveness, the impact of unforgiveness in our lives. So, I mean, I don't want to preach about unforgiveness. We all know how it affects us. Because you are the one that's hurting from it. Whenever you remember, you're going to be hurting. So find a way to deal with it. And then breaking the cycle of suffering, because it will keep the pain alive. The wound will be alive as long as you don't forgive and you keep watering. It will be like a plant that you keep watering and it will be growing and germinating by the day. No matter how you don't want to, as long as your mind flashes back, the wound is going to resurface and then the pain will start all over again. So that is the key. Forgiveness is the key to emotional freedom. For you to have that freedom and whatever you can salvage from any kind of relationship that you can manage to foster with that parent, I urge you to begin the process of forgiving. Please forgive your African parents. If they knew better, they would have done better, trust me. I know a lot of people were abused, a lot of people were neglected, a lot of people suffered hardship unimaginable, but you've got to forgive. Try and forgive, heal and move on. By the grace of God, I pray for you, every one of you out there who is hurting from one parental neglect, abuse, or whatever it is that you're going through. I pray that God will give you the grace to be able to forgive and for you to be able to, get to that point that you want to get to have closure, and for you to be able to enjoy the rest of your life with or without them. So I'm just going to leave it here today. I hope you enjoyed this one. I just wanted to quickly talk about it because I feel like I left it hanging yesterday, and from all the comments I wanted to just say something about it again before we can move on to all that then. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave me a comment down below in the comment section, and I'll see you again shortly in the next one. Thanks for watching. I love you. Bye.